The images from the three cities almost forced upon me the theme of my talk in Potsdam. I would address conflicts between cultures. As the diverse origins of the images suggested, cultural conflicts are by no means simply a feature of societies that have not yet tasted the quote-unquote blessings of modernization. I knew better than to dismiss them as outbursts of receding barbarism at the fringes of an otherwise peaceful modernity. Subtler, but nonetheless real wars between rivaling cultural groups are threatening to tear the fabric of social life in the Western nations. Far from being aberrations, the three cities gradually emerged for me as symbols of today's world. When the ideological and military wall separating the East and West crumbled, when the constraints of the mega conflict called the Cold War were lifted and the importance of long-established global spheres of influence diminished, hosts of suppressed mini-conflicts flared up into so many hot wars. In a special edition of the Los Angeles Times of June 8, 1992, entitled The New Tribalism, Robin Wright reported, "In Georgia, Little Abkhazia, and South Ossetia both seek secession, while Kurds want to carve a state out of Turkey. French Quebec edges towards separation from Canada as deaths in Kashmir's Muslim insurgency against the Hindu-dominated India pass the 6,000 mark. Kazakhstan's tongue-twisting face-off pits ethnic Kazakhs against Russian Cossacks, while Scots in Britain, Tutsis in Rwanda, Basques and Catalans in Spain, and Touaregas in Mali and Niger all seek varying degrees of self-rule or statehood. The world's now dizzying array of ethnic hotspots starkly illustrates how, of all the features of the post-Cold War world, the most consistently troubling are turning out to be the tribal hatreds that divide humankind by race, faith, and nationality. The explosion of communal violence is the paramount issue facing the human rights movement today, and containing the abuses committed in the name of ethnic or religious groups will be our foremost challenge for the years to come," says Kenneth Ross, acting executive director of Human Rights Watch. The article went on to indicate over 50 spots around the globe, Western countries included, where violence had taken root between people who share the same terrain, but differ in ethnicity, race, language, or religion. The end of the Cold War did not produce these conflicts, of course. They were there all along, playing a stable role in the bloody global drama of modern times. The conflicts may go through cycles of resurgence and remission, depending mainly on international conditions. Large-scale upheavals create a setting in which ethnic demands seem timely and realistic. In the judgment of a careful student of ethnic and cultural conflicts, Donald L. Horowitz, at least over the past century, these conflicts have been ubiquitous. A look around the globe confirmed my decision to make cultural conflict the topic of my talk and conference in Potsdam. A more precise formulation of the problem occurred to me only after I had spent some 6 weeks in war-torn Croatia in the fall of 1992. Its territories occupied, its cities and villages destroyed, and its people killed and driven out. There it became clear to me what, in a sense, I knew all along. The problem of ethnic and cultural conflicts is part of a larger problem of identity and otherness. There, the problem of identity and otherness fought and bled and burned its way into my consciousness. So he's been setting sort of the background for this talk, and this talk ultimately would be sort of the staging grounds for the rest of this book. But I think you'll note he is writing in a particular historical time. The fall of the Soviet Union released a lot of tensions. What a lot of studies have shown is that when countries are at war, smaller, lesser conflicts between smaller groups tend to fall by the wayside as people identify more strongly with sort of the larger groups that are in conflict. You pick a side, and that side becomes your identity. But when those sides collapse, all of a sudden you are left with unresolved tensions between smaller identity divisions that existed before that time. So that's sort of what happened after the fall of the Cold War, and that's sort of what he's struggling with here. And he's pointing out that he sees it sort of at the heart of the collapse. And note that this is from 1992. This is before the age of the internet and the era of fake news and lots of other areas going on. So there's a lot more conflict going on today in maybe an overly dramatized way. Furthermore, we're much more aware of what's going on in areas of the world because we have access to information from all parts of the world, whereas in the past, it was much, much easier to cover things up. But we'll finish with the last section, or the next section in our next video, which is a world without the other. And that's where he actually goes into sort of his experience in Croatia that he mentions at the end of this section. But for now, that's it.